today we're joined by the incredibly talented Shane Stevens. Shane is a renowned songwriter, having worked with artists such as Selena Gomez and Ariana Grande and me. Shane and I have written so many songs together, including from my latest album, Unbroke, a song called Sorry Now, which is probably my favorite song on the whole record. We're going to talk about everything from Jesus to hairdressing to really cool parties in New York City. So without further ado, here is my very, very close friend, Shane Stevens.
Oh my gosh, Sara Evans.
Shane Stevens, what do I call you?
I'm your person.
You're my friend, my person,
friend.
My love of my life. You're my confidant.
I'm your husband.
You're my husband. You're my co-writer.
Yeah.
You are my advice giver.
I'm your prayer warrior.
You're my prayer warrior.
I love to pray. That's my favorite thing.
Your house is one of the houses that I have been to when I have been at the lowest of lows, crying, pouring my heart out to you. And yet we still write amazing songs together.
In a safe place.
And you're my safe place.
And we're always honest with each other.
Always.
And we dare to suck in the room.
That's right.
Yeah.
And on top of all of that, you are a separate badass singer, songwriter, musician, artist. Obviously you have incredible style. You're gorgeous. You've got it all. Tell the people how we met. Shane Stevens.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I met Sara with her head back in a shampoo bowl in 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And to prepare you to put your first hair extensions in for the Born to Fly video.
Yes, which were like down here.
Down to there.
Yes.
And that was the greatest thing that ever happened. We made you take 4 Advil and call us in the morning.
Did.
Remember? Do you remember that? Because that's when we were still sewing them in whiffs.
Yes.
Like when we were in that little room in the Trump's hair salon.
Mm-hmm.
And with John.
Yes.
And he sewed the cornrows in, and then we put the extensions in, 3 different whiffs in
You
your
were
hair.
so right to tell me to take Advil.
Because
God, it
sleeping
hurts.
on that is awful.
It's terrible.
And I was low-key writing songs and not telling anybody, which was fun.
I had literally no idea who you were, or that years later that we would be best friends. I had no idea. That's just so bizarre in such a small world, but that's a God thing.
It totally is. It really is a God thing. And I don't know if, you remember this because you were like, you had to get them out, and your sister, I guess, cut them out for you.
My ex-sister-in-law.
And she
cut them.
Cut the braids out and not the actual string, the thread that we sewed them in with. And so
she cut my hair.
She had a bald strip around from ear to ear in 3 different places. And then we had to sew new hair extensions in to replace all the hair that was gone. Oh my God, 1/3 of your hair gone.
1/3 of my hair gone.
Yeah. And now you don't wear extensions anymore. So
what?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
How your hair
have to
gets
deal
to
with
be
that
like
anymore,
it is.
But we're all good now.
Yeah.
So when you came over for my birthday a couple years ago, you told some stories that I'd never heard about you. And not that you want to tell those stories, but I'm fascinated by your life.
Oh,
and
thanks.
when I think the first time that we wrote together, you came down to Mountain Brook in Alabama, and you thought I was kind of insane because I didn't remember you, but I was like, well, my head, like, you were behind me
all
working.
the time.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really know that you were the guy from Trump's salon.
Yeah.
And so you were like, yeah, that was me. And
You're like, wait, what?
Floored. Because you're so amazing.
Thank you. Well, what's really amazing for me is big full circle moment for me was the first song that ever became a radio single for me was a song that you recorded for the Billy Graham movie soundtrack.
Yes.
And I went to the studio and everybody was like, are you here to do Sarah's hair? What's happening? I'm like, no, I wrote this song. And they were like, wait, you're a songwriter? I'm like, yeah, I'm a songwriter. I wrote this song. So that was the first time I ever had a song on the radio and you sang it.
What was it about you that kept that secret?
I'm not, especially at that time, I just didn't talk about things as much. I wanted to just do it and show people,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Because where I come from, if you're trying to do something better than than the people there,
Get above your raisins.
Above your raisins, you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. So when I had big dreams, if I talked about them, people tried their best to talk me out of them or say
Right.
that I thought I was too good or something like that. And so that kind of stuck with me. So I just would rather do the work and it
Show
happen
it.
and then show it.
Show the proof.
And so
Yeah.
that's literally what happened. And I won't ever forget it because you and Jay were actually on a Southwest flight. I don't know if you remember this, flying to New York to do the Today Show, to sing my song on
Hello.
Today Show. And I sat in the aisle across from y'all on the plane. And you're like, wait a minute, what is happening? It just kept happening and kept happening and kept happening. It was such a blessing. But that was really the first thing that like solidified me in the music business. It changed my entire life.
Okay, let me
And
tell
now here we are.
the fans. So there was a movie made about Billy Graham, and Shane wrote a song for the movie called Low, and I recorded it, and it was right up my alley. I mean, it's so country, and it's so like all those licks that I do, but
That good
also
bluegrass
that
feeling
you do,
that I do.
because
Thank
you're one of
you.
the best singers I've ever heard.
Thank you.
But if you guys go look up the video, it's I'm gonna roll that stone away,
Live my life my way. Stand
standing in my fate, just like the sun rises every day. Skies is gonna change.
You can't keep me low. Yep.
And I have on a brown plaid shirt. And then there's another scene where I'm in a church and I have on a black and white pinstripe dress and boots, and I'm dancing. And my children, ever since then, have always mocked the way that I dance on that video in that church.
But at least you were really
neat.
skinny in that video, and those boots were amazing.
I'm almost there.
And I hope you still have those boots.
I do still have those boots, yeah. They're just from Urban Outfitters.
No way.
Yep.
I love those boots. That video was great. That little dress was great.
It was so cute. Yeah,
So
I was
cute.
so skinny. But that's right when Jay and I got married. So, you know, every bride gets that
She
weight,
was
gets
snatched,
prepared.
honey.
Yeah.
Snatched up.
Tell
Oh
us
my
where you're
gosh.
from. And
I am from Calabash, North Carolina. So right between Myrtle Beach and Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay.
So I was born in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, in the Grand Strand Hospital, right behind Dolly Parton's Dixie Stampede.
are you?
That's where it is.
Of course, that's where you
of course
were
that's
born.
where it is. And my dad was a shrimper. I grew up on a shrimp boat.
Okay.
And I stayed there till I was 17. And then Karen Rochelle, which you know, we met.
Yes.
She and I met at Opryland auditions
The three of us have a song together on my current record
called Sorry Now.
called Sorry Now, which
we
I rocked
love.
up, and you didn't really love it until you heard the final version.
It's amazing.
It's amazing now.
love it.
I knew I shouldn't have sent it to you that early because we hadn't. It was so in its infantile
yeah.
stages. But I went home and I was so. And we'll get back to where you're from.
Yeah.
But I was so into Daisy Jones and the Six. And we wrote that song. That was probably the first song I wrote for this album. And we wrote it quite a bit more country and a little bit more laid back. Well, I was so into, you regret
Mac
me
and
and I regret
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So I was like, this song lyrically is very angry. And so I was like, so you know how it goes da 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 da, and then it doesn't push the beat. The next time it's straight da 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 da. So I wrote that, and I went in and I told the musicians,
This is what I want.
I go, this is what I want because I think it needs to be angry.
And gritty. And it turned out like that.
Gritty, yeah.
And all of my friends that hear, they're like, man, this is like a really awesome throwback to like Fleetwood Mac.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's really, it is.
Absolutely.
And
Or
it's
Heart,
where it
it's a little
needed
bit
to
like
be.
Heart.
Or Heart,
Yeah.
absolutely. Anything Stevie Nicks related, I'm down for. So
Same.
I love
Because
it.
we
Turned
both
out
have
great.
that fast vibrato when we want to. Yeah. Okay, so at 17.
17, I moved to Nashville. I went to work in a seafood restaurant downtown on 2nd Avenue that just hadn't quite opened yet, called the Crab House. And because I grew up on a shrimp boat, I knew everything there was to know about seafood. And
Yeah.
I wasn't old enough to serve alcohol, but I got a job there. I became a trainer. And about 3 or 4 weeks into working there, after we opened, a producer called Jerry Crutchfield, who produced Tanya Tucker. He used to be the president of MCA Records.
Yep.
Came in, and he produced Tanya Tucker and Lee Greenwood and Tracy Byrd. And Tracy Byrd was having a huge run, and so was Tanya Tucker at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw my name tag and where I was from. And Jerry had like voice box surgery or something a long time ago. So I talk like this.
Right.
And he was like, Calabash, North Carolina. I've been there. I'm like, what? Really? He's like, yeah. And he's like,
You're like, were you on The Godfather?
he's like, I've eaten in the restaurants. And I told him where I lived, which was behind this little gift shop. And the restaurant that my mom worked in when she went into labor with me was called the Dixie. And he had eaten there like in the 80s. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You can't be making these stuff. He's like, what are you doing in Nashville? I'm not kidding. I was like,
Wait, is he from New York?
no, he just had this thing with this. If anybody knows Jerry Crutchfield that sees this, they'll know that's what Jerry sounded like.
Okay, because the way you imitate him,
I
sounds
sound like Eddie Murphy doing the Nutty Professor
Or The Godfather.
Or The Godfather.
Yeah.
Anyway, he sounded like that.
Okay.
And he asked me what I was doing there. I was like, well, I sing songs and I think I can write songs, but I'm not sure yet. I'm just trying to figure it out. But I moved here with my best friend, Karen Rochelle, and she's the greatest singer-songwriter in the world. And she's going to be a huge songwriter and a huge singer one day. And he's like, really? And he said, well, I said, what do you do? And he told me. And he goes, well, I'd like to hear this, Karen. And I said, don't threaten me because I will show up at your office. And so Karen was actually back in North Carolina visiting her grandmother and her mom. And we didn't even have cell phones then. This is
Right,
1996.
of course, yeah.
And he said, well, where's this Karen? I said, well, she's back in North Carolina trying to figure out how she's going to make a living writing songs or doing music so she doesn't have to wait tables because I don't know if she was made for hard labor.
Right.
And
yeah.
he's like, well, do you have some songs? And I was right, child. I was right. I said, you were made to be driven and to have a housekeeper. And be married for sure. And write hit songs because, girl, yes. Anyway, girl can't do no hard labor. She did help me paint some walls a couple times that I had to repaint. Don't kill me, Karen.
I can so see that about her.
I know.
I can so see that.
But she is the best at what she does.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, he asked me if I had some songs, and I said, actually, I do. We had a little 4-track, and we had recorded some songs that we'd written together and a bunch that she had done on herself. And I think she had made like a CD at that point, too, of just some of her own music back in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And so on a Tuesday, when I had a day off, I showed up at his office right over here on 17th Avenue, which ended up being across the street from my old publisher. And the girl at the front desk, her name was Sarah, and she was not going to let me up to see Jerry. And I had a printed out picture of her and me. It was black and white, Xeroxed probably. And I had a tape, and I saw a box of tapes sitting next to her desk. And I was like, this tape is not going in that box.
No.
And she kept saying, Jerry's really busy. I'm like, you don't understand. He asked me to come here. He's got to hear this music. And she kept calling up. She wasn't talking to him. And
right.
She was like, he's really busy. He's not going to be able to see you today. And I said, okay, well, how about you listen to it? You got a boom box right there. Play it. So she put it in, and she listened to the first song, and then she listened to the second song, and then she listened to the third song. And then she called Jerry and said, Jerry, you need to see this kid. And so I went upstairs.
That was brilliant.
I went upstairs, and he's like, where's Karen? I said, I told you she's at her grandma's house trying to figure out how she's going to live in Nashville.
Yeah.
And he's like, let me hear this music. And so I played him the songs, and he loved her. And he called her on the phone, and he said, Karen, this is Jerry Crutchfield. How quickly can you get back to Nashville? And she's like, whoa, what? And she knew who he was because she was a huge Tanya Tucker fan, like, as we all were then, especially. And she came back to Nashville in her Dodge Avenger, and he signed her to her first publishing deal. And so she started, I was still working for Earl and for John at Trump, still doing Your Hair and Jordin Messina and the Judds and Naomi folding towels with me and Minnie McCready and all those people were coming. Martina, Faith, Barbara Mandrell, Tammy Wynette would come in with her wig and her muffins. Like
it was the
coolest place to be, right? And secretly wanting to write songs for all those people. But so Karen returned the favor. So as I was working and getting more confident in songwriting, she started writing with me and a songwriter called Ed Hill, who wrote "It Matters to Me" for Faith and
Whatever You Say.
Whatever You Say.
And then he and I wrote a big song. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
like whatever you say, but I know Ed Hill.
And so we started writing a bunch of songs, and then those songs started going on hold. And one was called Whisper, and Faith Hill put it on hold. And then Karen and I had written a song that David Malloy was producing, Reba at the time, and she cut the song. And I started to kind of get little cuts, and I didn't have a publishing deal, but none of them would ever make the album. And so I was like, man. And so Karen stayed there at Jerry's company for about 4 years, and then she ended up going over to Famous Music Publishing with Pat Finch. And by then, my ex and I had opened a hair salon in Sylvan Park, and we started getting a bunch of other songwriter clients, one being Tia Sillers, who was signed to Famous, and she wrote I Hope You Dance. Karen sang the demo for I Hope You Dance. Tia was like, oh, I've heard about you. You're Karen's cousin, basically. You're a songwriter. What are you doing in the salon? I was like, I have to work,
Yeah.
I got to hustle. I don't have a publishing deal. And so then she sent Troy Burgess, and she sent Hillary Lindsey, and that's how Hillary and I met and became best friends.
My gosh.
And then once I had enough songs together that I was proud of, Karen took them to Pat Finch at Famous Music Publishing, and I went to his office, and he offered me a publishing deal that day. And so I got signed to Famous, and then a year later, I started getting a couple cuts. Again, nothing ever making the album. But then I got offered a record deal to be a pop artist, and I moved to New York City the week before 9/11. And then 9/11 happened, and then I moved to New York City, and I'm living in an 8x16 room with a bathroom in the hall and having to wear shower shoes. No joke. And
what part of the city?
I was on 14th Street between 6th and 7th,
Okay.
above the porn shop.
Oh my.
So imagine me, little country Christian gay kid, going, well, this is awkward. No air conditioning. It's September. It's still really hot. Smoke still coming up from down there.
Did you not get a bonus?
I had barely even gotten the ink dry on anything.
Okay.
And my publisher gave me more money. So I was able to get out of that apartment and move up to the Upper East Side into a rent-controlled apartment where I had air conditioning.
Okay.
But shortly after 9/11, my record deal went away. So
yeah.
And then shortly after that, my publishing deal went away. I was coming back to Nashville to record songs with Hillary and Karen, and while I was in the LaGuardia airport standing next to a air conditioner that was literally leaking water on my head, I got a phone call from the head of the company in LA, whom I'd only met one time, and he dropped me.
Why?
On my way. Because
you kept
I didn't
getting
have
holds,
a record deal. My record deal went away. I had turned down a Broadway show because they told me they didn't move me to New York to be a Broadway star. They moved me to New York to be a pop star. And if I didn't do that, they were going to drop me. And then they did anyway, 3 months later. So all things that could happen
Which, by
happened.
the way, you would have been amazing on Broadway.
I was hoping, I didn't ever really want to do Broadway, but Mamma Mia was an option. And it was literally across the street.
You would have been amazing.
Yeah, but it wasn't my path. And,
Right.
God tends to work all things together for the good. And every time I ended up being to being a hairdresser or working in a restaurant or running a karaoke show, he would just send people to me that encouraged me to do music, even though I was great at doing those things. They were just like, this isn't your path. This isn't your call.
Right.
You've got to do it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
God was going to make it happen no matter what.
yeah. So I ended up, after getting dropped, I went back to New York with my tail between my legs because I thought they had figured me out and I really wasn't talented. And I was embarrassed. And so I waited tables and I ran karaoke shows and I lived in a 6th floor walk-up and I could barely pay my rent. I had to sell my car. It was a whole thing. But I was embarrassed because I thought if I go back to Nashville, they're all going to know I'm a failure. That was just stuff in a kid's head. You know?
That's right.
So long story long is I ended up working in a hair salon downtown called Privé, and I worked for a stylist called Susanna Burns. And so we did Olympia Dukakis and Mike Myers and all these movie stars.
Oh my God. I love Olympia Dukakis.
And my hairdresser that I worked with was really, 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 she would talk to, by the way, Olympia would talk to me like Cary. She would make fun of my Southern accent and be like, when are you going to get rid of this country accent? And I said, never. I'm never. This is the way I talk. Well, Susanna got rid of her North Carolina accent. Well, I said, well, good for Susanna, but I am who I am, and I'll be the Southern boy in New York, and that's just going to have to be fine with you. And you can keep talking to me like Cary. Thanks. Keep going.
Right. But
anyway,
she did a great Southern accent
she
on Still
did.
Magnolias.
I know, which we actually just went and saw in the theater for the first time in Wilmington, Karen and I.
You did?
I never saw it in the theater because I was a kid and we didn't have money for things like that.
I saw that in the theater alone.
But so Susanna encouraged me to do music. And then she got pregnant and I needed to get another job while she was, on maternity leave. So I met this lady who opened the very first blowout bar for blow dries in New York City, not dry bar, because this was before that. It was called Blow. It was on 14th Street in Manhattan. And I just walked in and I was like, hey, I'm a hairdresser. I need a job. What's this about? And she's like, we're only doing blowouts. And I was like, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, about, let's say 3 months into working there, Mary-Louise Parker from Weeds came in.
No. From Fried Green Tomatoes.
Fried Green Tomatoes, actually. First Fried Green Tomatoes, but really famous for Weeds.
Yeah.
And so the funny thing about it was the first week that I moved to Manhattan after I'd gotten my record deal, I met her and Julianne Moore in the Magnolia Bakery. And Julianne Moore bought me, she was pregnant. I didn't even recognize her. She bought me banana pudding. And then Billy Crudup and Mary-Louise Parker came in. And there was this whole thing that went down. And it was always my accent that got people. And I knew who they were. And when she called Julie, I was like, wait a minute, it's Julianne Moore sitting here talking to me. And they were really encouraging, but they asked me why I was in New York. I was like, I have a record deal and I'm going to make like a pop George Michael record. And I'm writing songs. And they're like, well, welcome to New York. We hope you really love it. And we'll see you around, Well, years later, it's 2005. Mary-Louise Parker walks in and I see her, the way we're hairdressers, we look in the mirror and we can see everybody behind us.
Yeah.
She comes in and she's talking to the receptionist and they kind of point over at me. And I was on my last client and my receptionist came over and said, Shane, Mary-Louise Parker wants you to do her hair. I was like, I saw her, give me a minute. And so I ran to the bathroom and did a bunch of push-ups and,
you did a bunch of push-ups?
Brushed my teeth, calmed myself down because I was like, this is crazy that she's coming in. And also like, I'm a little embarrassed because I'm this person that was supposed to be the pop star in the song, and the songwriter.
Right.
So we sat down.
See, people don't understand how fragile our egos are.
Oh my gosh.
When you do, everybody has fragile egos, but when you do something in the arts, it's very much even more so because you do know that you've got it and you don't want people thinking that you don't have the talent just because you're not making it.
And you don't want people thinking you think you got it. Like you don't want to have this ego. You still have to be humble, but you have to fully believe in yourself and your talent to make it. Because
absolutely.
That's like I always say, we work for a bitch called hope. We are always hoping something's going to happen. You're going to get the next cut. You're going to get the next cut that makes the record. Then you're going to get the next cut that makes the record that makes the single that is the song on the radio. Then you got to hope that it's a hit.
That's
then
right.
You got to hope it gets past top 40. Then you got to hope the label still believes in it and wants to push it and spend tons of money to get to number one.
Yeah.
It's a bitch called hope.
Yeah.
All the time.
I love that phrase.
She has worked out for me. Thank you, Jesus. It has worked out for me. But so I felt a little bit of shame that I was about to do her hair. We sat down. She told me what she wanted. She lay back in the shampoo bowl, much like you had years before, and started talking. And and I asked her, how she was, what was going on. Like I didn't know her. Like she was all over the news. Billy Crudup had left her for Claire Danes, I think, at that point.
That's
when
right.
She was pregnant, and it was all over the tabloids. And she'd had the baby, and so she was everywhere. And I said, so how are you doing? And she was answering me and she's like, well, talking about press and stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, cool. She knows I know who she is. And then all of a sudden she goes, banana pudding. And comes up out of the bowl and I've got the hose. And I'm like, oh my God, hold on. And I spray her down. And she's like, it's fine. What are you doing here? Why are you doing my hair? You're supposed to be a pop star. And I'm like, well, 9/11 happened, and then I lost my record deal, and then I lost my publishing deal, and then I was too embarrassed to go back to Nashville. So I've been waiting tables and doing hair and running karaoke shows and working in bars and whatever I could do to stay in New York. And she fell in love with me and started having me do her hair for certain events.
Also, if anybody can understand
Struggle
what you're going through, she does.
Yes,
because
she
actors
does.
go through it too.
She does. And so she had me over to her house one day. I got an invitation in the mail from her assistant to be her date to a party for Mark Seliger, who shot like covers of Rolling Stone magazine. And he had done a coffee table book with a lot of celebrities, and she was in it. So she was going to be the host. And so she asked if I could be her date. And they told me to, like, at the time I had a lot of curly hair, like long curly hair. And she's like, wear something cute and kind of downtown hip. So I went to Urban Outfitters and I got these little black skinny pants and these little John Barbados bands with like birds on them and this cute little t-shirt with knives on it and had this cute necklace. And I show up with my blow dry case with a blow dryer and scissors just in case and a flat iron. And she comes out in this Gucci robe and like Gucci everything, like just out of the shower, like dripping Gucci.
I'm in shock at this story.
And she said, okay, I want Cher hair. I want just straight flat iron, long Cher hair. And I was like, okay. Because at that point, she had this stress level that her hair was coming out in handfuls, like just from everything. Like, so it either needed to be real curly and wavy or it needed to be stick straight.
Right.
And so she was going to be wearing this big white fur. And anyway, it was the whole thing.
Can you please, not to interrupt?
Yeah.
Right here, we got to drop in a picture. I have to see you with the long curly
With the curly hair. Oh, I'll send it to you. There's a great picture of me and Hillary with it, actually.
Right there. I have to see you.
So anyway, we're sitting there. I'm doing her hair, and she goes, play me some songs. I said, I'm not playing you any songs. And she said, you just got an iPod. I'm like, what's that got to do with anything? She goes, you've got some of your songs on the iPod. Play me some of your songs. And I'm like, Mary, come on. So I played her a couple like really old demos or whatever. She's like, Shane, you are so good.
Yeah.
I love that you do hair, but you got to do music. Yeah, it's fine. Right. And so I'm like, how am I going to do music? I'm freaking broke. I'm in New York City. It's the business is dead here. So I go with her to this party. We go in a limousine. We show up, and no joke, I am helping her and like welcome people in. You can't make this shit up, y'all.
I'm in shock. I didn't even know you knew her.
In walks
How dare you keep
the
that from
first
me?
two people. I am drinking this little bottle of champagne. I've never had alcohol at this point. I'm drinking a little bottle of champagne with a pink straw and a pink ribbon around my wrist and sipping the champagne. And in walks Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins. And I'm like, hello. And she's like, Susan, this is my friend Shane. He did my hair. He's a singer-songwriter. I'm like, what are you doing? And then comes Elvis Costello and Diana Krall. Same thing. This is Shane. He's a singer-songwriter. And I'm like, what's happened? She goes, oh, you must be really talented. I was like, and I didn't know what to think. So I'm sipping that champagne. And I'm like, oh, now I'm getting a little buzz. Never experienced this part before. Not kidding. So then in comes Elizabeth Berkley and, from Jesse Spano.
Yeah.
And then Showgirls.
Yeah.
And Saved by the Bell. And she was engaged to Eric Lauren, Ralph Lauren's nephew or something.
Yeah. Little kind of dark hair, curly, but beautiful.
And then it was just Lenny Kravitz and Julia Roberts. And,
You're lying.
And then you're going to die. Y'all are going to die.
I am dying at this story. How have you?
Says to me, because I kind of, I've told it to some friends, So says to me, oh my God, we're wearing the same pants from Urban Outfitters? And I was like, yeah, And she goes, you want to smoke a spliff? And I was like, what's that? It's tobacco with a little marijuana. I'm like, okay. So...
I can't.
That happened.
I don't even know if I'm going to speak to you anymore.
So that happened. I am now.
Hold on. Back up. Hold on. What was like?
Amazing, gorgeous,
Yes.
really funny, really smart, and kind, and an icon. I just didn't. I thought at one point I thought I was hallucinating because I never drank before.
I feel like I'm hallucinating right now.
You know, and so the best part is yet to come. So
God.
Mary,
Wait, I'm not done. Hold on. Did you have on the same pants?
I had on the same pants from Urban Outfitters.
Were they women's pants or men's pants?
They were probably unisex because everything in Urban Outfitters kind of is.
It is.
They were
but
skinny. It was when skinny pants were starting to really happen. So
Okay.
I probably wasn't paying any attention. I was so skinny, so I
Right.
wasn't paying any attention if it were girl or boy. I just put them on. They were black. They had a little stitching on the side of them. They looked cute, and I just got them.
Good Lord.
So the end of this little long ass story for y'all is that night after I got a little sobered up, Mary-Louise grabbed me by my shoulders and she turned me around and to face all the people. And she said, Shane, these are the people you want to be. So effing be it already. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And it changed my whole life. Like,
Best advice ever.
but here's the thing. Had I not been a hairdresser, had I not worked in a hair salon, so many things had to happen in my
Absolutely.
life to get me to that moment. And for someone who's not even in the music business, she didn't have to care about me. I was just her hairdresser. But I met her when my dream was happening and then it fell apart. And then I met her again.
Yes.
And she encouraged me. And it's not like she was like some big, faithful believer or something. I didn't even know anything about what she believed in or God.
Right.
She was going through the worst time of her life.
Right.
Like having to see her children go off with her ex and another woman that he started having an affair with on, a movie set or something.
Exactly.
And so she's really going through some stuff and still had it in her to really encourage me. It changed my whole life. And so I wrote a song the next day and I sent it to a friend of mine. And this is going to kind of flip you out because this is full circle. You recorded it and never put it out.
What song?
It was called Get Up Again. And it was for, and I had invited Hillary to come visit me in New York. I was just in a low place and, I was doing hair and didn't have it, and Hillary came to New York and we wrote the song with this guy, Curtis, called Get Up Again.
Will you sing it?
It was, just when I think I've come undone, my mind is racing, my body is numb, I lie awake, 'cause too much matters. The chorus is,
Yeah.
whatever hurts you won't kill you, it's all but a dream in the end. Whatever hurts you, bends you, won't break you. Just rise out of the fall and get up again, get up again.
I remember
Sorry,
it.
that sounded crazy. I'm dehydrated. But
Well,
Jordin Messina ended up recording it and putting it out.
yes. Yeah.
Yes. So it was like the two of y'all, and then she ended up putting it out. But
That was probably Paul Worley who didn't like that song.
yeah. But
No, it's not that he didn't like it.
it probably was.
But, there's just
But that's the song
amazing.
that I sent to my friend Becca Tishker, who was Becca Calloway at the time. She was working at BMI, and she had been working for Bob Doyle, who manages Garth and publishes Garth. And he had a publishing company, and she sent him the songs that I had, old songs or whatever. And I got a phone call that said, hey, Shane, we want to meet in person. Can you get to Nashville? And I went to Nashville and played him these songs, and he signed me a publishing deal. And that's the last time I did hair. Except for when KK was pregnant and I did your hair in New York.
right.
And I had songs on your record.
Exactly.
Anyway, so
Exactly.
that's my.
Well, good night, everybody. I mean,
And
there's no
mic drop.
topping that story. I have so many questions. First
Mm-hmm.
of all, what is it, Mary-Louise? What?
Mary-Louise Parker.
Yeah, because I always get her confused with Mary-Louise or Mary Stuart Masterson.
Uh-huh.
And then what is the actor's name in Fried Green Tomatoes? The blonde. Her name is Mary.
Isn't that Mary Stuart Master? No.
It could be.
Weren't they
her
both
name's
called
too.
Mary?
Yeah, they're both called
Cicely
Mary.
Tyson was in that movie too. Who
Yeah.
actually, it's so funny. I've met so many people like that have changed my life. Cicely Tyson gave me a pen one day and said, write your songs with this pen, and I hope great things come for you. And then we connected over Mary-Louise Parker, and then I reconnected them because they hadn't seen each other since Fried Green Tomatoes.
Are you still friends with Mary-Louise Parker?
Have her on my phone, MLP.
Will you please tell her how much she means to me? just based on fried green tomatoes.
You know, it's an interesting fun fact. I don't know if people know this, and I haven't signed an NDA, so I think I can talk about it at this point. Desperate Housewives, Terry Hatcher was supposed to be Mary-Louise Parker.
No way.
And she took weeds instead.
Smart.
So Terry Hatcher, who's apparently one of the kindest people in the world, every time she would see Mary-Louise for a long time, she'd be like, I cannot thank you enough. Like, you changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, not taking this show.
Right.
And doing weeds. And, but I'm like, Mary-Louise, you're just changing all kinds of people's lives. And you don't even know it.
Well, clearly she was raised right and probably struggled to make it as an actor.
From Charleston. So
yeah, she did so well with her Southern accent. But my God, I mean, I never knew that about you.
You can't make it up. You can't. I can't believe I've never told you that, actually.
No, because of all the nights that we've spent drinking and talking.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try to tell the fans, because we're running out of time, the songs that we have together that my diehard fans will know from the albums. So
If
I run,
baby, will you
chase me, be the one who wants to save me.
Never walk away no matter what. Sweet Spot is on that album. The one that I whistle on.
Yes. Gotta be honest, we're on to something good. I got a feeling, it's feeling all so clear. It's not the weather. I said, ooh, I'm in love with you,
baby. And then we did.
That was with Karen Rochelle.
That's with Karen Rochelle. Then
we
did I Want You on Words. That I sang the backgrounds on.
And that's the most beautiful duet. So,
who
so
co-wrote
that's
that
from
song?
the album Words.
Yes,
it's called I Want You.
You have to hear it. And that's me singing background with her on that record. So it's basically like a duet.
Yes.
But you know who wrote that with me?
Who?
She just won Best New Artist at the Grammys this year, Victoria Monet.
Oh, yeah.
She
that's
wrote
right.
that song and Tony Brown. I mean, not Tony Brown.
Also,
Tommy Brown. Yeah.
Also,
Sorry Now.
Sorry Now. Don't say sorry now. And then you made me cut Better Off, even though you didn't co-write it.
Mm-hmm.
God, I know we're missing some.
I'm sure we are.
That we've written together. But yeah, the fans can go.
And then the songs that we've written in the chat and put out, but that's okay.
A lot of songs that haven't put out. Yeah.
I'll take it.
Well, we were going to do, I'm not going to say the name.
What?
Okay. We wrote a song with it called A Lady's Name.
Oh, yeah.
And that name was a name that I couldn't write a song about.
After the fact.
After
you cut it.
Yeah.
And it's such a great song. And maybe we should just go back and change the name. It just sings so great. Or do you even care at this point?
I don't care at this point.
It's so good.
Okay. Next record, I just need to do that because it's such a great song.
But now full circle for me, real full circle for me is you just recorded a duet with me, for me, and you.
Which is so, I mean, I've listened to that song 100 times.
I listen to it all the time too. I told Craig Dunn, your manager today, I said, I played it for my barber because I want to get people who don't do music to listen to songs.
Yeah.
Like not just friends and
people who buy
business.
the records.
Yeah. And family members or, you know, my cousins that have the fiberglass pool in the ground and the double wide and the camper with the tiki bar and a karaoke stage. Those are the people you want to love your songs.
Well, it's so full circle in so many ways too, because like you would be down at my house in Birmingham and I turned our pool house into a writing room.
Yep.
And then you're seeing little Avery come home at age 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old.
So talented.
And then now Avery played guitar on your record.
On that song.
And I'm singing on it. I want to sing harmony.
Oh my gosh.
What's the key? I can't.
I can't quit. I can't quit. I can't quit you now.
I can't quit. I can't quit. You know I don't know how. You're on my lips, you're in my veins. You're damn near driven me insane. Baby, you're my problem and my fix. I can't quit. I can't quit.
Come on.
Oh my gosh. God. We're so good together.
Oh my God, we are so good together.
More duets together.
More duets and tour will be the new Tim and Faith who's not married.
Karen and I have a song on the new record.
I Want to Be Wrong?
Called I Want to Be Wrong.
I love that song. I want to be wrong.
Yeah,
I love
that's
song.
the saddest song I've ever written. And Karen was, I cried that whole day, and Karen was so worried. At one point, she stopped playing piano and she goes, I'm actually really worried about you.
Are you okay? Are you going to be okay? I will say this. I mean, I really commend you. You know, I was praying for you the whole time you were going through everything that you were going through, and believing that, because I really believe when you're with your person, no matter what, like God wants restoration. Mm-hmm. God wants restoration for you, your life, your career, your family, period.
Yes.
And when you do the work and you do the work with the Lord, anything can change.
That's
and this
right.
has turned into a real, God can work all things together for the good. And you've made a powerful, beautiful record that is honest and truthful. And I was saying earlier, you know, we have to tell the truth, and we have to tell the truth all the time, because that's what people want to hear and people want to know. And if you lie, they'll find out.
That's right.
You know, and you don't want to be known for that. And that's not who you are, and that's not your heart. And so living a covered up life, especially in what you do, isn't going to help you in any way.
Correct.
And if you've gone through certain things, there's other people that have gone through certain things. I
Right.
grew up in a household with a schizophrenic, drug addict, alcoholic who, you know, told me I wasn't the fruit of his loins and he couldn't have created a child. Those are words I heard.
Oh, Shane.
And that God didn't want, I was supposed to believe in a God that didn't want to believe in me. I needed to be a part of something that didn't want to be a part of me. You know, I didn't have an encounter with Jesus until I turned 30 years old. And when I did, it changed everything for me. And so prayer is my favorite thing on this planet, above writing songs or singing songs or making things pretty or making people feel pretty. I love to lay my hands on people. I love to pray. I want to see people get set free, because if the Lord said, like, this is my favorite Bible verse, which is these three things remain: faith, hope, and love, and the greatest is love. And I had a conversation with God and I said, if you said we could heal people, then I want to see it happen. And I want to see restoration in my friend's life.
Right.
I want to see I want to see people healed from cancer. I want to see it leave. If we're going to do all things and more, then I want to see it done, because you said we would do all those things and more. And I truly, truly believe that. And I really believe that for you.
Yes.
You know, and
Thank you. Well, the night that I came over, you called me out of the blue, and this is not something that I would normally do because I'm such a homebody.
Yeah.
And you were like, we're down here at this bar with Renee Bell.
First of all, you answered the phone.
And I answered the phone, which is also not what I normally do. And I was, you know, telling her earlier that I call myself a famous introvert.
Yeah.
And so you guys called and said, come down here. Renee Bell is here. And I hadn't seen Renee in years. And
Who signed you to your record deal?
who signed me to my record deal. I want to get her on the podcast because so it was God telling me to go. And so I just go down there, sat in the bar, and then we went back to your place. And I was just bawling, crying, and so sad, because I believe all the things that you just said, you know, that people can change and people do change, and people can be healed and
set free.
And set free from bondage.
If they're living in their truth. I really think you have to want healing. You have to get in alignment with healing.
Yes.
And that means letting go of all your bullshit.
Right. That's right. And
owning it.
We go to therapy every week for 2 hours a week. And it's, you know, it's been one of the most amazing things ever. And I really highly recommend it. But as I've said a million times, my story is different. So I don't want anybody to ever base any decisions they make on my story.
Right.
But the night that I was at your house, you said, I'm going to tell you something and you're not going to believe it. And so every morning you get up and journal. And this is the night that I made the decision to stay and fight for it.
Yeah.
But you said, you're not going to believe this. You went and got your journal. And that morning, the Lord put it on your heart to pray for me, and you wrote things about me. And God said to you, don't worry about Sara. She's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. I think I took pictures of it. And
you
sent
took
it to
pictures of it and you wrote it down and you showed it to me. And it was kind of all I could take. I mean, I just like lost it. But
it's knowing that you matter and you matter to the Creator.
yes.
Like you really, like God sees you. God sees all of us, no matter where we are. You know,
Right.
it's like I think we can pinch ourselves off pretty good from the feeling of the flow. It's like, I'm always like, that presence is always flowing to you and through you all the time. And when we start trying to fix things ourselves, you start to not feel it as much. But if you just live in your truth and literally surrender and be like, God, I can't do this anymore.
Yep.
Have your way.
Yes.
Just have your way. And I know that I have, for you, I'm speaking as if I were you, I've brought this family together. We're like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
And things have gotten twisted and sideways, but you are the God of restoration. And there
Yes.
is nothing you can't do. Nothing you can't do. If you can raise the dead,
Right.
you can resurrect my marriage. And
That's
I truly
right.
believe that. Like, listen, I did not want God to be resurrecting my parents' marriage because my sister and I were tortured, and so was my mom.
Right. Sometimes it shouldn't be.
Yeah, my dad made a choice. Like, it was a long time before there was therapy, and he had a mental disease. Like,
Right.
but he was medicating it with drugs and alcohol. And every time he went away, he came back and he was okay for a minute, but then it got worse and worse and worse. Like, when you wake up and there's a gun at your mom's head and your
Yeah.
dad stares you in the face and says, if all my money isn't here, you've killed your mother. That's
Yeah.
not the kind of household your kids should be being raised in.
Right. That's
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
my
a
dad
different
wasn't
level.
like, and yeah, that's
A
a different
different
level.
level.
But that's
Yeah.
not where you were. Like,
No.
crazy things happen.
Yeah.
But you wanted healing.
Yes.
Jay wanted healing.
Yes.
Your family wanted healing, and the Creator wanted healing.
That's
for
right.
you, and that's why you're having it. And that doesn't mean things won't go wrong, and you won't do stupid things or say stupid things to each other, because we're people.
Yeah.
We get it wrong.
Right.
But I believe for the
there-
best for y'all.
We love each other, and that's the thing, you know. It was he is my person. He's the love of my life, and I think, you know, it was just like the way Jesus, when he was on earth, he hated, you know, religion. He hated the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He wanted to be with people,
All people.
and we're all born sinners,
And love all people.
and love all people
Right where they were.
And that's right.
The thing that I've learned, and sorry, we're going to church for a second, but the thing I've learned is that God healed through compassion. And when people were sick, this is how I pray for people. When you stood before Jesus dripping your illness, he called forth your wellness. And so when I pray for people, I call forth their wellness. He didn't see their disease. He saw a well person suffering with
Yes.
something, but he called forth their wellness. And that's what, if I was to tell anybody anything in my life, is that you can be set free from anything. There's nothing God won't do. You just have to faithfully faith your way to it and believe it. Like, I really believe that. And I really
Absolutely.
believe that for you. And that's not just because you're my friend, or I just know that God loves us so well and so much, and we can get in the way of it and stop stuff
That's right.
that doesn't have to be stopped.
Yes.
Like, all goodness is coming for you, and I believe that for you.
and I
so-
believe it for you.
And I love you so much.
I love you
And I'm so
too.
grateful for you.
I'm so grateful for you. And thank you for coming on to the podcast, because I know how busy everybody is. And I hate asking people to do stuff, but I just love you. I always have, and I always will. And we still have yet to write so many more amazing
Oh my gosh,
songs
so many. We got
together.
albums and albums.
And lots more glasses of red wine to drink.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I don't drink anymore.
You don't?
I haven't drank in a year and 6 months.
Well, what's funny is I don't really either.
I just woke. Eric didn't want to drink anymore, and I wanted to be supportive. And he's like, "Don't do that and be supportive, because then if you want to drink, I'll feel bad." Blah blah blah. I was like, "I just want to be. Trust me, this will be better. We're not going to start drinking less as we get older."
Yeah.
And so I just was like, I want to do this for myself as well and have clarity. And my prayer was, I wanted to go deeper with God.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear more and feel more. And And I couldn't do that if there was a substance in the way. So the clarity that's come has been pretty incredible.
Shane, it's so weird. I agree with you 100% because when Jay and I were going through our hard time and we were separated, you know, I really was drinking a lot and just trying to numb out the pain. Now that we're back together, neither of us desire it. We just kind of don't want to leave each other's side.
That's great.
Yeah.
And listen too, my therapist said the greatest thing to me one day that kind of shifted me for this. She goes, you know, if you're drinking, it's fine if it's for a treat.
Yeah.
But when it becomes a treatment, you have to look at that. And
it almost
I feel
became
like
a job when I was going through that. It was like, I have to.
And I don't want to feel this right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And now it is just a treat.
Yep. And so I've just decided I come from a long line of alcoholics in my family, and I don't want to ever become one because I'm so busy. I don't have time to go to other meetings. I really don't. I'm like, I don't have time to be an alcoholic. I can't be labeled something else that I have to get treatment for and talk to more people about. Like, so let's just stop. Let's just stop.
It feels great, doesn't it?
It feels great.
Yeah, it really does. I feel like there's enough fear. It brings me anxiety. And so I feel like there's enough stuff going on in the world to cause anxiety that why add to it?
Right.
I just want to add really quick before we stop. You have also written pop major hits too. And I don't want to go away without acknowledging, I feel like we haven't acknowledged enough
about music.
what a great songwriter you are
Thank
and
you.
singer and artist. And also when your album comes out, if you want to come back and talk about it, and you know I'll be posting all about it. But you've written for Beyonce, Ariana Grande,
Fifth Harmony, Jesse McCartney,
Selena
Gomez.
Yes.
And then our Walker Hayes song that changed our entire lives.
Oh my God, duh.
Fancy
Light.
But that crossed over, so that was great. And now I have a pop single out right now that's doing really well at radio. It's not streaming so great, but it's fine.
What's it called?
It's called Cheat Code by Lucas Graham. So you know the artist that sings the Once I Was 7 years old?
Yeah. You told me that. That's right.
So that's out, and it's like at 26 at Hot AC right now.
Okay, everybody request it, stream it. What's the name of the song?
It's the bitch called Hope again, y'all. It's
That's
called
right.
Cheat Code. And
Cheat Code.
Yeah, and there's other stuff coming too with that stuff. But yeah, and I just decided I wanted to put music out myself because there aren't really rules anymore. And
you're such a freaking great singer.
And my songs are just sitting on Song Mountain. So I'm like, if we're going to do it, I'm going to start with you. We started together in the writing side of things, so may as well start with you with song side of things.
Yeah,
so.
I love singing with you. People just don't understand what a great singer you are.
Not today, but sometimes.
Yeah, same. I just came off of 3 shows and I'm hoarse and tired. So anyway, I love you.
I love you. Bless you.
Have a wonderful evening.
You have a wonderful evening.